people over here on the side of the pond just have no clue whatsoever what's happening over there in Africa.
No, they won't know what's happening because people are too frightened and they think that they'll be ridiculed.
Yeah, there's very little information flowing out of the quote-unquote dark continent. But here is one example, and let me bring on our next guest here, who hails from South Africa, Marielena, who has weird paranormal stuff happening around her property, and little people are there. She's going to be doing some conversations here soon with Robin Moonshadow to get up to speed on it. But I thought it would be interesting to hear from somebody over there and just let you guys know that, you know, these things are everywhere. Here we are at the tip of South Africa, and there's a local having problems with them there. And so welcome to the show, Marielena.
Hi, it's a pleasure.
Great having you here. So you want to go back into what we were talking about right before we started recording about the situation with the little people, and apparently not just you, but other people around there have been seeing them.
Okay, the thing is, over here we have what it's called the little T's. I'm not going to say the word out loud because I don't want to draw them in. But
I'll put it on the screen.
We also have little people. But the thing is, it mostly happens in the natives, especially around the natives, the black people. They're the ones that get attacked the most. Not that it doesn't happen to us. And I've always seen them. Since we moved here about 7 years ago, I was about 13 years old. I picked it up straight away. And I had an experience where one of them ran at me while we were standing in front of the house. It was a newly built house. This area used to be farmland. And I started screaming. I was so scared I started screaming. This was the first time that something like this had happened to me. We had just arrived in South Africa. And my dad, he comforted me and whatever. He told me to ignore it. And then we started laughing about it. And I completely just forgot and ignored it over the years. Oh
my God, yeah, welcome to South Africa. Here's some weird little people running around. You weren't expecting that, huh?
No.
Oh my God.
So of course now, so I completely ignored it. Then over the years, through my mom's friends, the older people, I kept on hearing the stories. And then one lady said to me, I have little fairies and little gnomes in my garden. And that's just a couple of houses down from me. So then I said to her, really? So then she said, yes. And she greets them every day, but they're not very friendly. So I completely ignored it, dismissed it, thinking this woman is mad or crazy or she's delusional. That's what I was thinking at the time. And I didn't believe it. And so, of course, now I just continued life on and whatever. And as I got older, I started picking up more of the paranormal stuff that's been happening around me. But I was young and I didn't really take notice, but I always kept it at the back of my mind. And then I started reading more books. I started doing more research as I went along, and I started listening more. But now, once my niece was born 11 years ago, that's when the activity actually started becoming more frequent. I don't know if it was because of the magnetic shift on Earth, which happened, or it was because we have a child in the house now, which has more positive energy, more life force. And as soon as she started to be able to talk at around 3-4 years old, she started telling me of the stuff that she was seeing outside the house. And the one evening we were looking at the stars. This was in March. In March, over here is autumn, okay? We have a different season to you.
Yeah,
and
the opposite.
Looking at the stars, and it was a bit cool. So then it was at about 9 p.m. and she says to me, I see a monster with red eyes right behind you with tentacles going underneath you. Let's go inside now. I don't want to stay here anymore. That was the first time. So then afterwards I said to my sister, do you see anything? So she says, I'm picking up a negative energy. Let's go now. So we went inside. This frightened the child. And then she said to me, please, let's not sit outside again because I know there's something around. Then she saw a big black man with a knife with big scary teeth standing outside by the roof the one evening. And I closed the curtains. Then one evening, always later as she grows up, we were playing in my bedroom. I see a face I had the curtains closed, but they were just slightly ajar. I see a white face looking at me, smiling through the burglar bars into my window. I didn't say anything to the child. I didn't want to frighten her. So I come to the lounge, I switch on the light to look outside, there's nobody there. I look all around, there's nobody. We've got the big, strong steel burglar bars on all our windows, and we have the slam locks, so you can't get in.
Right.
Then the second time I was alone in my bedroom around the same time, 9 o'clock, there's that face again. I alerted everybody. There's nothing around. The dogs don't bark or whatever. The dogs always bark if there's somebody on the property. Then at night, I hear a lot of footsteps running up and down. I check. My neighbors are inside. Everything is closed. They are sleeping. My cats are inside. And my one cat, she perks up her ears and she looks outside the window as if there's somebody there. And I know, because they start to growl. They're like dogs. And that's the frightening part, is that my cats pick it up and they go, look, who is there? But there's nobody around. We have neighborhood watch. We have all types of security area patrolling our roads constantly. I know when there's an intruder because everybody gets alerted and then everybody calls security. So it's not that. And
it's long been thought that cats have the ability to sense presences that other animals can't necessarily do. The Egyptians kept them around for just that reason.
Yes. And then afterwards, that's when I started seeing the big black shadow.
Yeah.
After that.
So it was a little people first, and then the big black shadow guy started showing up. What did that first little person that you saw look like?
It was gray. It almost looked like a gray little alien.
Did it have the big bug eyes and big head like they do?
Yes, it looked just like that. I didn't want to say anything to anybody else because I didn't want to scare them, but that's what they look like. And
wow.
And Lara, the little one that she saw 2 days ago, peeking at her while she was playing in the garden because she was by herself, because the tenants' children haven't been here lately because they're moving out. She saw this little figure, childlike size, with a pink gray skin and curly hair, peeking at her, and it had like raggedy type of clothes. This is the first time that she saw it. And then
now that doesn't sound like an alien. How big was this guy?
It was her size, which is about 1.35 meters.
Okay, so that's pretty little. If that's a full-grown guy, he's a dwarf.
Yes. Well, yeah, she's very short compared to the other children. That's why. And
yeah.
And the thing is, I had 2 different types of sangomas over here in the last year to bless the place. And they said to me, there is a couple of portals on my property. It happens all over here. But
that would have been my guess.
I have a few portals in the garden around the property, and they're coming through there.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd worry so much about little gnome-like guys showing up, but those little gray guys would definitely have me worried. And that reminds me of the old, I think it's a Scottish legend. It's up in the British Isles, the Grey Neighbors, and they describe these little fairy-like people, look just like gray aliens, and they were kind of dangerous to have anything to do with, and they would make people disappear and sometimes not bring them back. And this was like hundreds of years ago. And they're essentially describing the little gray aliens and the abduction experience you usually experience with them.
Yes, exactly. So, of course, now my father tells me, no, just ignore them, think positive, and they can't hurt you. But the thing is, I've had so much experiences of different times happening to us, and I've written it down and I've drawn it because it's like I have like flashbacks of memories. I might be standing doing something and I get a memory flashback of what's happened. And when I ask my dad, he says to me, yes, he knows it's also happened to him. So, of course, knowing that all of this is happening, how can I just ignore it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's abject reality. These things are really happening. You know, that's the problem with seeing cryptids or any of this kind of stuff. Most people are just unwilling to believe that what you're telling them is what's really happening. And then what do you do?
Yes, exactly. Then I'm stuck in limbo, stuck over here, trying to figure out I can't talk to anybody because my friends want to believe me, but they are kind of skeptical. They don't know where they stand. And I can see, my sister says to me, they're looking at you as if you're crazy, but they don't want to say it because they don't know what to believe.
Yeah, in the back of their minds, they're really, really scared that you might not be crazy.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. That's why we have so much taboo on the subject of here, because of that. It's a conditioning. We have been taught that it's all nonsense, that we mustn't talk about it, and that it's all imagination.
Well, I think to a certain extent, talking about it, just even in general, in some way, it could give them some energy. But on the other hand, if you've got malignant and dangerous entities running around your neighborhood and people are not talking about it and don't know how to take care of themselves and protect themselves from it, that's worse than talking about it.
Look, the thing is, I've seen triangle UFOs, I've seen UFOs, I've documented it and all of that stuff. So, and I had witnesses with me. So now, if I've seen all of that, how can I say, no, it doesn't exist? Or I can't say the little people don't exist after I've seen it with my own eyes. And the child is seeing it with her own eyes.
Well, for my part, I've never seen a little person. They're supposed to be in this area that I live in. And when I was up at Coloma looking for Bigfoot evidence and stuff up there, I went down to the base of the cliff, and there was 3 little tracks there that were about 4 inches long, moccasin tracks. And there is no way in hell there was any human kids running around, any toddlers with little 4-inch long feet running around in the slag heap at the base of this abandoned ghost town. So I got out of there right away. But so my point is, even though I haven't seen one, I found their tracks. I'm inclined to believe it's real.
Yes. And you want to avoid them because you don't want to be a victim.
Well, especially the ones around here. They're not as bad as puckwudgies, but they don't have a very good reputation. Apparently, if you're a member of the local Crow tribe, they'll put up with you. Anyone else, you better just leave the area right away.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the thing is that activity ramps up when I've got other children here. You see, my niece, she usually has her friends here over the weekend, and there's a group of about 3 to 5 children all at once, playing inside and outside the house. But that Sunday evening, the activity around this house is palpable. On a Monday, I'm the one that experiences it all. I am left alone at home because I usually work evening shifts. So, of course, in the mornings, I'm over here and I pick up on everything that's happening.
Do you see any kind of pickup in activity around or following the time that you got a whole pile of kids around there?
Yes, I do. That's when a lot of strange things start to happen. Things start to break, things disappear. It's happened in front of my eyes. My glasses disappeared. It was the strangest thing on earth. I had my niece with me, my eyeglasses. I had it done on the table. I said to her, my glasses were just here. We went all over the house. We came back and it was right there where I left it. But we had looked over there and she said to me, it wasn't there. That's what I'm talking about, like that.
Yeah, things disappearing and then reappearing and stuff. That's classic little people stuff. That happens a lot. And it also gets reported with ghost and spirit activity, teleports and aports, that sort of thing. I think it could essentially the same thing.
Yes. Now, as soon as the children leave, that's when my sister and I pick up on the stuff. And I said to her, every time Lara's friends come, there's this energy change and then bad stuff start happening. And I'm the one that gets the brunt of it. Even though I'm protected by my guardian angels, by God, by my spirit guides, I'm very protected by them. But I'm the one that sees it, and it scares me because it's not nice to see these things happening.
Do you think your daughter is the focus of their attention, or do you think maybe it's one of the other children that's coming over when they're having their big play dates?
It's one of the other children. I always pick it up with
too.
You see, they don't really believe in God, they're atheists.
Okay. They're not as protected.
But they do play the Charlie game and the Ouija board, which I've told them not to. I prohibited them from playing that game inside this house on this property. And I've picked up on evidence on pieces of paper that they've been trying to play this game here. And I keep on telling them, please do not play these games here because it brings on negative energy, which I have to deal with. I'm the one that needs to clear out the space.
Yeah, like my friend Brent on the Paranormal Portal likes to say that essentially a Ouija board is just a neutral instrument. But there's another way you can think of it. And for the older people out there, you may remember when we had payphones on the streets. And there was like a phone booth, or there was a little cubicle there, and you could put a quarter in, and you could call somebody on the payphone. Well, essentially with the Ouija board, you've not got any control over who you're calling. And so it's like the payphone on a busy street is ringing, and anything that's walking by can pick it up and answer.
Yes, exactly. Now, what the children do is that they write on pieces of paper this game, and they put yes, no, crosses, and little figures on. And then they play this game, and they play the Charlie game, and they're bringing in entities that are not, they shouldn't be bringing in. Now, this child, she comes here, and she's teaching my Lara this thing. So I said to Lara, please, I said to her, do not play this game. You don't know the consequences of it. Now, this child, she lives in a neighborhood which is not so desirable. She lives in the Cape Flats area, which is got a lot of negative energy over there. There's a lot of shooting, gangs and wars. That is by the colored areas. And that's how they're called. And so, of course, now she says to me, oh, don't play those games over there and whatever. So then I said to her, you shouldn't be playing those games because it really hurts you in the process. You don't know down the line what's going to happen to you or your children when you are opening those doors. But they don't listen to me. They think it's fun.
Yeah.
And of course,
children, of course, have so much wisdom. They're just renowned for that. That's why we don't let them make their own decisions, because they make really bad decisions.
Yes. So now she comes here, and then the other friend, which she thinks she's so cool, she's only 11 years old, but she thinks she's 18. And she comes here, and she's a complete atheist. And my dog, the miniature dachshund, wants to bite her. The first day that she saw it, she barks and barks and barks at this child. And she growls at her. Every time she's here, she does not like this child. So I said to Lara, in the absence of light, there's darkness. I said to her, if you don't have God, you don't have light. I said to her, and you're bringing on negative energy, and it comes here, and you pick it up, and then I'm the one that has to deal with the consequences of it.
Exactly, and that's the problem. If this other child is playing with these forces and doesn't have any sort of protection, and they can have attachments from all sorts of entities, and everywhere they're going, they're dragging them around with them.
Yes. So then after my daughter, she's realized, she's kind of woken up now. And I said to her, you see, I said, I've been trying to tell you this for about a year, but you have to experience it for yourself to understand what I'm trying to get at. But then in the end, it hurts you, which is not nice to watch.
That's usually the way the bad guys like to work. It all seems like innocent fun and games. And by the time you realize it isn't, it's too late. They've got an attachment. They're already ruining your life. You know, they cause a car accident and one of your friends dies. Now you can feel guilty the rest of your life. Just some kind of weird stuff. It always happens.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to explain to her. Exactly that. Because, I mean, you know, how many times, it's been about 3 times, that something has tried to kill me. The first time I was stepping out the door, something pushed me. It's only 2 steps. And I went flying. And then I had an angel catch me in midair and gently put me down on the floor. The second time, I was at work. Around the corner, one of my colleagues came with the sharp shears. You know the sheep shears?
Oh, yeah.
It was that. And it stabbed me in my abdomen. There was the strong force pushing this blade away from me. In the process, I got spun around and it chopped my finger, my little finger. The blood gushing everywhere. This guy thinks that he had stabbed me in the stomach. So I landed up at emergency for that. The third time, now this was recently, about 3 weeks ago. It's traffic in the morning, long queues, and I was exiting a stop street, and this taxi decided, brilliant, he decides to overtake on the oncoming lane after the white car shined the lights to let me go, to cross over. You know, it was a hair away from this taxi to hit me. And I'm thinking, oh my word, God was there.
Wow.
He literally nearly touched me. That's how close he was to me, on top of me. The taxi driver, because we've got the mini taxis, we don't have the taxis that you find in America. It's the little minibuses. They come at full speed down the road and they kill people. And I got such a fright. This guy got such a fright. Everybody got a fright. And sort of like I was shaking. My boss had to give me sugar water because I was shaking so bad after that. And I didn't drive around for about a week after that because I got a fright.
Wow. So it sounds like you just got way too much not fun stuff going on. Has that area always been that active? Is it just, did you just discover it when you guys moved in there? Or was there like somebody that should have disclosed when you moved, before you moved in, this area is incredibly haunted, there's portals here, and you'll probably see monsters and little people running around. Whoops, we don't want to tell you that. You won't buy it.
No. The area was built by the government for the lower income white people of South Africa, people that couldn't afford to buy houses in the middle class to higher income group. So they built this area, it's community development homes. And so, of course, at the time, it was a new area. And this area is about 48, 49 years old. and it's next to an oil refinery. And so, of course, now there is a portal down the road, about 2 kilometers away. The paranormal team of South Africa has picked up that there is a paranormal portal a few kilometers down on the highway between the two areas. We've got an industrial area just over the highway from us. So, of course, at the time when they built the area, no, they didn't know. They didn't know that there was any activity happening over here. And this used to be all farmland. And there's a couple of graves over here, but we don't know where they are because they've been buried with houses.
So really, you have no idea, beyond a certain fairly recent date, what was really going on that land. I mean, it could have been like generationally cursed with weird ceremonies for decades, and you guys wouldn't know anything about it.
No, because Javier used to be just plain bush. When we first moved in, we were the first couple of houses that were recently built, and it was just bush. There was no trees, just plain bush. The municipality planted the trees because basically in South Africa, it's just sand. It's only certain areas that have got forest, but that was planted by the settlers as well, because we didn't really have trees over here. It was just the indigenous fauna.
Yeah, it kind of almost looks like some of the scrub areas in Australia from what I've seen of it.
Yes, exactly. So, of course, now they started building and whatever. They just build anyhow. They don't really care. They just take a piece of land and they build and people move in without really knowing what's happened on that land past generations. You just find out as you ask questions.
Oh, God. So it could have been anything. That really makes it more difficult to figure out what you're dealing with when, oh, well, it could have been anything. Nobody knows anything about this land beyond about 40 years ago.
Yes, exactly. Yes, correct. Yes. I mean, there is documented signs like old churches and old historical houses that are documented as being paranormal. But when it comes to the suburbs where people live outside of Cape Town, there's no documentation. It's just by word of mouth. And if people come and investigate, proper investigation, then they'll pick it up.
Yeah.
But
wow. Do you?
Yes.
How much do you think the fact that a lot of the people there are not from, shall we say, modern religions, or either like atheist or practicing, the old local indigenous pagan religions and stuff, and you've got, along with that, some of these black magicians that have got these old rituals and ceremonies and stuff that they know about and are probably still doing, and how much that could be affecting the whole situation and opening portals, attracting other weird cryptids, things like that.
The thing is, we have a lot of those because I've got different cultures and races living around me. There's a couple of witches. There's a lot of drug addicts. The drug of choice in Cape Town is tick, which is amphetamine. I don't know how to pronounce that word. And heroin. And then there's crocodile, which is the derivative of heroin. That is very prevalent. And so, of course, we've got witch doctors living over here and witches. They don't announce it out loud. But because I'm in contact with some of the good witches, because they're also Italian witches. What I mean is they come from Italy or Sicily, they live here and they continue practicing magic. Not all of them, some of them. So, of course, I know about them. And people, they talk to me. They like talking to me, and they open up. So of course they tell me of what's going around. So that's how I pick up on all the information.
Mighty handy. At least you have some communication with some of them. It gives you some kind of idea on what potentially is going on in this area.
Yes, I do. So of course I know who to avoid and what to avoid. I'm just very careful because most of it is hidden, especially over here. Everything happens behind closed doors. But when you go in the black and colored area, it's much more open. It's sort of like very open. It happens right there in front of your face. That is the difference between us.
Right.
And so I live in a predominantly white area, but even though I've got Indians, coloreds, and blacks living over here, everything happens behind closed doors. If you don't get the information from your neighbors and from people talking, or from them, they themselves telling you, you won't know what's happening over here.
Right. And then in the other, some of the other areas, they're a lot more open about it. You can probably find a street corner witch doctor to throw a curse on somebody you don't like.
Yes. And then what happens, like in the previous business that I was working for 16 years, they were very open about it. They were just coming in. And then my colleague who passed away said to me, by the way, that's a witch doctor. So then I asked her, what is he doing over here? So she says to me, the manager called him. She doesn't know if it was for protection or if it was to cast a curse, but there was a couple of them that were walking in and doing stuff. And then my colleague said to me, start looking for chicken bones and feathers. She said to me, because there's a curse heavy at the moment and we must try and destroy it. I never picked it up. Eventually she passed away. So, and then everything went to hell. And from then on, everything went to hell. And then after that, I tried to recover from it. And I've been sort of like using a lot of prayer. I've been constantly praying to God and my angels and my guides to protect me and just to help me out on all of this, because it's just too much for one person to deal with it.
Yeah, I could see that. Do you, once again, we don't get a whole lot of news about what's going on over there in a lot of ways. Do you think the current problems with the government over there, sort of doing really weird things, might have anything to do with somebody there having something to do with black magic?
Oh, definitely. I saw a podcast with David Icol. He spoke to one of the Sangomas in Africa. Yes. The thing is, I was warned personally from a higher being. A higher being, I'm talking about extraterrestrial, but the ones that protect us, that love us. I was warned on a number of occasions to be careful of the reptilians. They are here and they are watching us. And when I told my dad, he laughed and he says, yes, he knows about it. And my friend, she was with me because we are a group together. And my two friends, they picked it up as well on the message. They were also warned about it, but not everybody. Just some of us, we were warned about it. And they said to me, yes, they also heard it. They were also told of the same thing. So, of course, now we were like sort of almost like, wow, it's really true. Because we always dismissed it and thought, no, there's just rumors. People are just imagining things and whatever. It's not true. But we were all personally told, this is what's happening. Just be careful. So But telling me just to be careful doesn't really help me because I don't know what to look out for.
Yeah, yeah. Just be careful is pretty blanket and nebulous statement. That doesn't give any specifics for sure.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder. The inside story on the reptilians is supposed to be that they not only eat humans, but they can psychically eat the energy from us, provided it's negative, fear, terror, anger, blah 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 blah, especially pain.
And maybe that's what my niece is picking up when she sees those big red monsters with red eyes. Maybe that's what she's seen, is that they are trying to absorb our positive energy.
Yeah, it's kind of considering how much chaos is going on over there right now. It makes me wonder if David Icke is right, and the reptilians are like in cahoots with your current government, trying to cause as much chaos and destruction as they can.
Yes, and there's this propaganda. Everything is the white man's fault.
Yeah, there's a bunch of idiots spreading that propaganda around right now. They should all go look in the mirror and go, "Oh, I'm a big racist." Yes, you are.
So of course now I can't get a job. I cannot get a permanent job. So of course now I'm a pet sitter. That's the way I'm trying to earn money. But the thing is, it takes me away from home because I have to sleep out. And when I sleep out, I'm in a stranger's home with an animal. 2 weeks ago, I was at the pet sit, and during the night, this was at about 3 a.m. And I started screaming. I saw a reptilian monster watching me sleep from the corner of the room.
Oh, geez.
And I started crying. The dogs that came to me to comfort me. These dogs are wonderful. The rescue dogs. And they said to me, and the dogs are telling me, it's fine, it's okay to go back to sleep. And then it disappeared. But I'll never forget that face. It's something that doesn't go away. So of course now it only happened once, but that's the thing. When I do pet sitting, I'm going on somebody else's property. I am in somebody else's home and I'm picking up on their energy, and I have no idea what's happening over there.
Yeah. Wow. So, do you think is Robin giving you any ideas on what you could do to sort of lower the intensity of at least the little person issues you've got around there? Because it sounds like the little people that you've got aren't really causing trouble, so to speak. So
no, they're not.
Maybe they aren't dangerous.
They're just mischief.
Right.
But the thing is, I worry about my niece. Well, she's not my daughter; she's my niece. I'm like a second mother. But
okay.
But the thing is, I worry about her because Robin said to me, no, they won't mate with her because she's growing now. She's becoming a woman now. So of course now I'm thinking, are they picking up on her physical change? And that's why this is happening. Or is it because of her friends that are coming here and they're bringing on their issues over here? But it always happens when the friends are here.
Well, it just doesn't make it any easier to figure out what exactly is going on there. But I think you're on the right track.
Yes.
How many is okay? You and your niece have both.
It's me, my dad, my sister, my niece. It's 4 of us that live here.
Okay. Has all of you seen the little people since you've been there?
My sister hasn't seen it. She just feels eyes watching her because she sits a lot outside. And my niece, she saw it the first time 2 days ago. And I've been seeing them all my life. So it's just that I simply ignore them. I just see a lot of things walking past or running past all the time. And
And
then
you
when
just
my
try to
mom saw it,
you try to not pay attention to them, and the theory being that will help them to go away.
yes, exactly.
Sometimes it works,
Exactly.
sometimes it doesn't.
Also, what I do is that I pray out loud. I said Our Father and Our Mary, and I said out loud, and I put on a white candle. That seems to help a lot.
What do you think of? I don't know how versed you are in the whole UFO thing, but do you know who Jacques Vallée is?
I've heard of him, but I don't know him.
Well, him and some other researchers were got sort of sidetracked on the whole little gray alien UFO thing when they discovered that people that were being abducted could halt the abduction experience by praying.
Yes, yes, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I've been thinking. I heard about that one, and I've read about it, and that's why I pray every single night before I go to sleep, and I pray every morning as well, because I'm thinking maybe that will help to keep them at bay. So I've been doing that. I pray out loud, and it helps a lot. But I don't know if it helps the alien abductions, but I'm going to try it every day.
Well, according to all these different witnesses, and see, this is what got him involved in it, because he had heard that some of these people, upon being hypnotically regressed, remembering their experiences, were remembering that they were able to halt, in at least one circumstance, the experience by just starting praying in the middle of it. And in a couple of cases, they were actually aboard the quote-unquote UFO, being examined or probed or whatever, and they started saying the Lord's Prayer, and boop, they were like instantly back in their room.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know, because the one time my niece, she was sleeping next to me, and I saw her rise up the bed and go up into the sky in a green light. And then she says to me, we were joking about it, we were laughing. I said to her, by the way, did you know that last night I saw you rise up head first and go up into the sky? So then she says, there was a green light. And then she says to me, I saw you going up feet first. But she says to me, you were in a white light.
Wow.
That is cute.
That is just so creepy. I don't know where to begin with all this. You need more help. You need like the A team of exorcists there to help cover your property and get rid of any potential negative energy around there. Put shutters on those portals.
Yes, the thing is, I've always believed that if I pray and if I believe hard enough that God is protecting me and that his angels and guardian angels are protecting me, it should work. I'm relying on my faith to do all of this. But the thing is, I don't know how strong of a protection that is.
Depends on what your faith is, but even the pros, when they're going after the powerful evil spirits, sometimes have backup with them, because there's some of them that humans just can't even handle. And that's even, with the pros. I had Dave the Deliverer used to be on my show. He was in Deliverance Ministries, and he did over 3,000 of those exorcisms. And he even said that, there's certain ones that just humans can barely make them go away. We can't really do too much of anything else, and that's if there's multiples of us trying to make them go away.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm only one person.
Yep. Yeah, and he said there was a few of them like that, where basically just to get the entity out of the person involved, they had to have more than one exorcist on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, they vary in power apparently. But anyway, I just hope that there's something that you can do to sort of settle the immediate area down and not have to worry about this, especially when you've got children there running around involved in it. That's really bad.
Yeah, it's just a bit scary that anything can happen to the children. I know, it also to me, because I've experienced sleep paralysis. My sister, the one evening, this was at about 1 o'clock in the morning, she came past my bedroom. She was going to the other bathroom and she saw this tall, dark figure over me, and she saw that it was absorbing my life force. She actually saw, and that frightened her so much.
Well, that ain't good. That's where you definitely need to call in the pest control experts at the local exorcists. Exorcists are us. Hey, come on, we got a major pest control problem over here. We got energy draining entities.
I need to call them again.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done it twice this year, but I don't know if they're strong enough.
Too bad Ghostbusters are disbanded. I guess we could still use their services. If you're hearing the show, Ghostbusters, go help Marielena. She needs you. Put these things in ectoplasmic containment and flush them down the toilet.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I'm relieved that you're at least getting a chance to talk to Robin here shortly, and she should be able to give you some good ideas on at least the little person end of things. But it sounds like you probably got portals there. It seems like you already are pretty sure that's going on. And, that being the case with the shift in the Earth's resonance frequency and stuff, you could have potentially all kinds of weird things going on there. So, expect the unexpected and be prepared for what you can't be prepared for, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing.
Wow. Well, thanks for recording a little bit with us and letting us know what's going on over there in South Africa. I really appreciate you taking some time to do that. And I'm sure all the listeners on the show would want me to thank you and give you their appreciation as well, because we just don't get to hear much about what's going on over in Africa. And it's kind of alarming and comforting to know that the same weird stuff that's going on over there that we're getting over here in this continent.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Okay, but thank you very much, Duke, for letting me speak and say something, and to make others aware that it's not only happening on that side, but it's also happening on this side of the world.
Yeah, and that's one thing people should take away from this, that all over the world, weird paranormal stuff is happening, and most of it doesn't get reported because people are afraid of ridicule, or they just don't know who to tell about it, or things like that. So it isn't that this stuff isn't happening, it's that it's not being talked about. It is happening. You'd be surprised how much I hear about this stuff happening.
Yes, and also religion and culture comes into it.
Very much so. Some cultures and religions are a lot more open to this hokey pokey with entities from the other side, and that always seems to lead to problems. So you're better just not having anything to do with them.
No, you're absolutely correct over there.
All right, dear. Well, thanks again for coming on the show, and everybody out there, hang on, because we're going to be right back with more.